Michael L. Andrus the second. Michael, we appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for the super chat. Actually, Michael, you were headed in the same direction I was after Cam was lamenting the issues with acquiring wide receivers. This was going to be one of about 4 bullet points I was going to hit on. Josh Gattis being one of the potential issues in recruiting receivers.
It's hard to say no, that he's not an issue. I won't say that he's the issue, but he might even be the issue. But he's the offensive coordinator. He's the wide receivers coach. Our passing offense was middling for large parts of the season, and the performance of the receivers was not necessarily great. And we're not getting receivers in the transfer portal. And again, we're not getting like the elite receivers from down here this year, which is a challenge, And then like, if you look, there was a time during this cycle that I thought it was a foregone conclusion, and many people thought it was a foregone conclusion that Miami was going to sign Dante Moore from Detroit Martin Luther King High School, because he was, favored to go to Miami or go to Michigan at the time when Josh Gattis was the offensive coordinator there and everything. So you bring that relationship with you, Jaylen Brown. I saw, it was a quote unquote foregone conclusion that like, at least those, definitely a Dante Moore. When we hired Josh Gattis, that really did seem to be what it looked like. And remember, I personally preferred Nico Iamaleava, but look, I might have been wrong on that, because I watched Dante Moore slice and dice and wheel and deal in that the All-American Bowl, formerly the U.S. Army All-American game. Look, buddy, I might have been wrong about that kid. And I still thought he was good, but I didn't think he was like that. But again, when Gattis got here, the known scenario was probably like, okay, I was the lead recruiter for this kid when I was at Michigan. He's from Detroit, Martin Luther King. I go to Miami. He came down for a visit, came down for Paradise Camp or Legends Camp, whatever they call it now, and everything. So you think that doesn't happen. We didn't get any of the really elite local guys. And look, I know Ray Joseph is incredible. I know Robbie Washington's incredible. But like, they're 5'9", 5'10" slot dudes, guys. Like, there's a ceiling on their performance. But like, your All-Americans, not your All-Americans, your X's, your bigger receivers, even a Brandon Ennis who's only 6 feet tall. Nope. You did like those guys around? No. Guys in the portal that I've already mentioned off the top? No. And there's one guy who coaches wide receivers, and he also calls the offense. And yeah.
And we've gotten past the point that we could reasonably expect anything to happen concerning Josh Gattis. If it hasn't happened by now, I got to think he is.
One would think.
Yeah.
I see people on social media clamoring for Cliff Kingsbury. That ain't gonna happen, because that's a thing that happens if ever Mario Cristobal has the epiphany of Nick Saban of, we got to open this offense up and we got to really be more explosively dynamic in the vertical passing game, especially. If and when that happens, then something like that. But like, no, that goes counter to his foundational paradigm and belief of how football is to be played. So I don't think that is a realistic scenario. And at this point, yeah, I don't think that there's going to be. I think if there's a staff change, I think it's going to be because of somebody getting a job somewhere else and leaving. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think they're kicking anybody out. But hey, everything really comes down. Not everything, but a lot comes down to next season. Like, you have to take a decent size step forward. I mean, like 8-9 wins come hell or high water. Like, and you're playing the youth and you're developing that youth. from the 22 class, from this 23 class, and I mean, like a guy like a Wesley Basaint, he had an internal development last season that was really good. He's playing specials only, and then he's starting at linebacker, being foundational to the starting 11 on that defense in the end of the year. That's growth right there. But you got to continue that next year and the year after. But yeah, no, this season we really got to start to see some stuff. Proof of concept is big. Hire Michael Irvin as the wide receivers coach. I mean, you only get 10 assistants. So if you do that, Falcon Rex, that means somebody got to go. And honestly, if you do that, then multiple people are probably going to have to leave, because if you do that, then that means you're going to need an offensive coordinator, and the offensive coordinator is probably going to be quarterback's coach. So do you think that Frank Ponce is ready for the big chair, or do you get somebody else, you know what I mean, and move things around in that kind of a way? So, we'll see. But at this point, I'm pretty set on this coaching staff returning, or I think that this coaching staff is going to return, and then whatever happens in 24 is fully dependent upon the job performance in 23.
Since we last left everyone last Wednesday, Miami did get that transfer commit center guard from UCF and Matt Lee.
Yeah. I think that, he was a starting center at UCF for multiple years. In terms of performance, he graded out very highly and everything. And it's coming to the point where Cristobal is trying to get, you want to have multiple options at every single position along the line. And whoever wins that spot wins that spot. And, I think, I think that Lee is an upgrade on Ja'Kai Clark. Ja'Kai Clark at center, I think he was fine. You know what I mean? But yeah, you get a guy there. You got all these dudes. I mean, you got Jalen Rivers coming back, Zion Nelson coming back, who didn't really play. I don't think he played a snap this year. He played in one game. But that's, an offensive tackle who started for 40 games in Miami along the left side. So he's there. Francis Mauigoa, Samson Okunlola, who both start. Well, Okunlola started at left tackle in the All-American game that used to be the Army game in San Antonio, that one. So he started at left tackle in that game and was dominant in practices all week. Mauigoa didn't play in his All-American Bowl, but he's, I think, going to play in the Polynesian Bowl before coming to campus and everything. So now you got those guys. You got Jalen Rivers. You got Javion Cohen from Alabama, who comes in, and he's played guard. And, he might want to play tackle or try, and we'll see. You got Anez Cooper. And I just named 9 names, right? And that's where you want to be, because in the past it was Zion Nelson's going to start at left tackle because we ain't got nobody but Zion Nelson who can play left tackle, period. But yeah, you're getting to the point where every position along the offensive line is up for grabs, and you really want to have that where you're not just relying on what's been there. And yeah, so I think that Lee adds a measure of experience and performance that could be good if he wins that spot. Or if not, then, maybe he's challenging for a guard spot, which again is only going to help the team. And then you can get somebody like a Lawrence Seymour finally to take a red shirt, because he should not have been playing last year. He was definitely a fish out of water. He definitely needs a mango season to develop. But yeah, you add the Lee kid who could play center or guard. You get guys back, and other transfers in there, and then you're able to then take a slower developmental path with, a guy like a Lawrence Seymour who look, we're going to just develop you for a year and then bring you in, hopefully, to perform better. So yeah, I think that is what you really want to see, even if it's not the necessarily sexy marquee name that everybody wants. Adding playable guys at positions is really what needs to happen. And this offensive line really, really, really needs a big reshaping. And everybody knows that. That's why Miami recruited 5 guys in this class along the offensive line and has now already taken 2 transfers. So yeah, very, very heavy on that. So we'll see where it goes.